good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folari. We've just begun that whole campaign season. But let me introduce my guest this morning. Mr. Demola Adegoke is a communications consultant, and we're delighted to have you. Thank you very much for coming on.
Good morning, Iyori, and good morning, viewers at home.
Indeed, our pleasure. And Amadili Boyo, Dr. Boyo, not Doctor of Political Science, not Doctor of Economics. The man is a surgeon, but he's also a public policy analyst. Thank you very much for coming on, Amadili.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
Indeed. Yeah. So, so many things going on. The campaign season has begun. Somebody says this. Everybody will grab hold of what the principal players are playing. For some reason, people are narrowing it down to, the two, what they think of as the two front runners. Talking about APC and PDP. Be that as it may, we'll talk about that. But maybe we should mention, since everybody else is talking about it, the book launch of the former president. That seemed to be a big event. We won't be able to go into that, but it's nice to have memoirs. Well, this early, I don't know. Normally people have they want to put some distance between what the experience was and when they write, because then they say that it would have gone cold and one can be a bit more detached from the stories. But at the same time, this is when the memory probably is the most keen. So maybe that's just it. But maybe in brief, do you have any comments about that? Because we can't not notice that former president has put a book out there.
The first thing, Jonathan was born 1957, so just 61 years old. You won't get you won't have too much of dementia in the next few years. Good wine, they say it tastes better when they're very old. And I felt the period the book was released must have been calculated to also remind Nigerians that there was once a Jonathan, and also the travails of the former president. I've not gone through details of the book. I've seen snippets, but it shows. I will, if it was left to me, and it's never been left to me, I would say that the timing was not the best in the world. Memoirs are good. I mean, we've not read Gowon's memoirs. Can you believe that? But our daddy Atota has written so many memoirs from my command to my watch. So these are all very good. And to imagine that every time Obasanjo, the former president Atota does things, is quick to document them because maybe he feels Nigerians also have problems with selective amnesia. And if you want to attack me, read my book, as it were. So it's neither here nor there. It's freedom of speech and book launch. You can do that. But I just also was pleased that he also took the current leaders along in launching the book. I saw faces ordinarily. I think if people had what we call bad belly in Nigeria, will not be there. So I will commend him for being able to draw people along. But one thing I also realized that in Nigeria, people attend book launch and never read the books. That's it.
Indeed. Well, what do you, your brief thoughts on that?
Yes, it will be difficult for us to do an in-depth analysis of the book now because yes, what we have now are just snippets of the book. But as to Jonathan's intention of launching the book now, we may want to ask that, does he want the book launch to coincide with this political season and then make some political mileage out of it? Well, that we may not be able to answer for him now. But then, like he has said, like Boyo has said, it is within his right to reduce his experience while in government into a book that can serve as a guide. His government has been accused of so many things. Perhaps now, reading the book will give us an insight, a better insight into some things that took place while he was...
Talked about these snippets that you mentioned. I think the former president addresses the question or the issue that he was pressured in 2015 to decline the results. But he was going to be a statesman, and he did what he did, and the rest is well known too. And everybody's playing nice.
It's possible that, well, the current president should not be pressured as well. That could be it, because at the end of the day...
that's why I said it already that, well, we may want to ask what the intentions are.
Yes.
Is it to, like saying now that I was pressured in 2015, you know, not
but
to...
I didn't
but I didn't. Is it a way of sending, you know, a subtle message, you know, to the incumbent that this is what I did in 2015. If, you know, if the table turns round now and it comes to your side and you have to, you know, do same, please just do as I did then, maybe.
And it wasn't easy.
That's my response to that. That was, I don't know if the cameras caught it or they were sleeping. I've done my non-verbal response. But you can't quote me on anything.
I think another time we'll sit down here and look at the
Indeed.
book.
But everybody's playing nice. And see on the front page of The Guardian, Buhari to Jonathan, you're a true Democrat. You will rise again.
Yeah.
Everybody's playing nice. Everybody's playing nice.
I mean, if a Donald Trump won't attend that book launch, you know, for what I know, because the guy, he's always so frank, brutal, and bitter, you know. But and I think that was, whatever it was, just the presence of the president alone at the book launch in itself speaks volumes about humility, and because there have been a lot of things going on about EFCC going about this after his wife, and the many stories about how the news was going to go around his neck very soon. And eventually, the president's presence at that place also shows that it's possible for two past presidents to be able to relay. I know it's not easy to even bring the president to any meeting. Every president is busy. And so I want to commend just the presence of Buhari at that place. You know, it's also something that is commendable. But when I read that aspect of you rise again, I couldn't really, as I said, I couldn't really make something out of that word, you rise again.
Well, first of all, did he fall?
And that's what I'm saying. We're saying the same thing. You rise again.
You lose an election, you win an election.
Jimmy Carter was president for one term. Jimmy Carter still became famous all around the world for many initiatives without going back to presidency. The George Bush Sr. was president for one term. He didn't, I mean, became still as relevant as he ever was, you know. So at the end of the day...
I think we can grab what the president meant.
You rise again?
Well, we just have to take it, because I don't think we can read too much. But it is an interesting quote, probably is why The Guardian, for example, brought it out, accepted it.
If somebody tells me I will rise again, I will call the person after.
Come, where am I?
Throw light on that statement.
Yes.
You know, it's a very powerful statement. But let's leave it at that. It will rise again.
Indeed, I think we have to leave it at that. Not having read the book yet, and so there's
precious. So that you rise again, it's not from the book.
No. Not
from the book. That was Buhari's statements now.
I said everybody's playing nice. So that was the president playing nice, saying of, former president who happens to be in a different party and who has all this going on that, hey, we're friends. We're first of all, we're members of the same club.
Yeah.
Because when all those Council of State meetings happen, those guys are there forever.
Maybe if I'm coming here, I may be remembering 84. Are you getting me? I was toppled 85 August, and he rose again in 2015. And that's why. But beyond that, if I may add this, beyond that is that you see, there's a very beautiful story I read about Watergate. What was that man again? Nixon. Now Nixon was leaving Watergate sad, and was packing his load, and the secretary told him that, Mr. President, sir, history will remember you. And Nixon retorted, it depends on who writes the history. Are you getting me? So people should always know that history has various dimensions. The president is not going to write, the current president will write the history of this country. I will have told good luck, Jonathan. Are you getting me? You've played your bit. History will remember you for good. That's all. Not you will rise again.
Okay. Did you want to say anything?
No, maybe we just leave. Maybe we just leave that. We leave it at that.
Maybe we just leave that till we get a better view of the book. We've read it, or at least read, a strenuous review of the book. Then we'll probably know what to say about the book. But it's sure to make interesting reading these excerpts that we've already gotten. But now, going on to the other thing, you remember that very, very recently the President Muhammadu Buhari had said that, look, the Boko Haram issue that looks almost intractable, that's how some would say it, but of course, also very much in currency out there is that we are making gains. We're making decided gains. Boko Haram has been decimated. They're a shell of their former self. These are dying throes, but they keep on springing back again. Now the president has said, it needs to be said, politicians are behind Boko Haram. Politics and politicians are behind Boko Haram, and that Boko Haram is not exactly something that you can address only by military methods. In other words, there's going to have to be other methods. No doubt that goes into the whole matter of talks, negotiations, strategy, and all of that. First of all, let me start with you, if I could, Demola, that Boko Haram has politics and politicians in its real engine room as to why we haven't been able to take it out, as Americans like to say. Was that news? Is it really news? Did what the president say? Did it say, oh, now I see, or you'd already suspected?
It's not. And for me, I may want to differ, from the president's position, to the extent that we cannot solve the Boko Haram issue with only military solution. Military approach. I agree with the president. In total, I agree with him. But to say that, yes, it's just politics and politicians that are behind Boko Haram, that may even sound...
No, I don't know if the word just should be included, The word just excludes all other factors.
But then, this now...
So in addition to whatever the precipitating factors are, Politics
is behind.
Yes, is a major.
You cannot rule out the possibility of some undercurrent of, political interplay and intrigues in any issue. I mean, world over, even in this, you understand. But then, I believe that there are bigger issues than if certain things are done. If certain things are done, I don't think it is politics that is behind, the apparent lack of intelligence, on the part of the military that we have seen. Because I believe that modern security.
Talking about when you say intelligence,
yes.
you mean this military function?
Yes,
the military function of intelligence, not about brain work.
No. When we say military intelligence,
okay.
Military intelligence, and military intelligence, we are talking of, how you get
secret information and all of that. Yeah.
So that is exactly what I'm saying. Not Our military, guys are we're one of the most professional armies you can have. They go outside and they perform very well. So I'm talking of military intelligence sharing, inter-service intelligence sharing, and all that. So that is not politics.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Because are you sure that is not politics? Because if military, look at what we experienced when there was this whole Magu affair and all of this, and government agencies were working at cross purposes. One agency, I think, between the DSS and the SSS, remember?
But as far as the military is concerned,
even as it were. Now, would you refer to that as politics?
No, because as far as the military is concerned, for me, there are institutional, defects and weaknesses.
Sure.
That need be addressed. That may not necessarily, because by politics and politicians, we are talking of probably the president, except we are reading him out of context, the president is probably talking of the opposition, using Boko Haram, you know, to kind of sabotage government efforts.
Okay, let's come back to that, because that's part of the problem. We haven't had the, you know,
except we are reading him out of
pleasure
context
yet to actually sit down before Mr. President and say, could we get some clarification on that statement? But what do you think?
Yeah, I think Mr. President is crying after the horses have left the barn. Before he came in as president, he promised that within a few months they will get rid of Boko Haram. He should have had a high-powered team to have studied all these things, because Jonathan, in his years in office, also claimed that it was not ordinary, what's it called, unrest, or, you know, people just coming to kidnap people. Jonathan also saw politics in it. When Buhari came, if after 3.5 years, he's saying this now, so in the last 3.5 years, was he fighting a wasted battle? Was he fighting a wasted battle? No. These are things that if you're going to, and I'm saying this, if anybody's going to win the next election, do your homework. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If politics are behind it, then you will have dealt with it. The military knows how to deal with everything. Look at 9/11. After 9/11 came up, why is it that since then, we've not had a major crisis in the U.S. till today? They blocked everywhere. They improved customs, border patrol, homeland security, immigration, everything possible, listening devices, telephone calls, everything was looked into. And it was wholesome, holistic. Now, the Northeast and the Northwest still remain the bastion of poverty in this country. If you looked at even the document released by one of the presidential candidates, it said the income of the state of Lagos is more than the income of the whole of the 19 states of the North. Can you imagine that? And so poverty, illiteracy, unemployment, and religious fanaticism. And in fact, you know, illiteracy and illiteracy alone, if we have, I give you an example, we have done 47 years, in fact 42 years to be more precise, of the Universal Free Primary Education Scheme, the UPE. If it's 1976, 42 years of running UPE, by now, anybody below the age of 40 should be able to read and write. Should be able to read and write if the primary school system worked. But the problem is that the dropout of people that didn't go to primary school, I'm not even talking about secondary, not university, in the North is astonishing. So when illiteracy abounds, people can be used as cannon fodder for religious bigotry. If education, employment, education and employment level of security in the country is very tight, these things should not be. If you can see the elementary in the North, Jonathan did something, started a school, but how will these children go to school? So the problem is that it's not just politics, sir. It's not just politics.
It's not just politics.
It's not just
but
politics.
I think the
and if politics is
meant,
playing a role.
I'm just guessing that the president meant that politics plays a not insignificant part in the problem. In other words, it is complicating the problem.
Right, can I round up, sir? If politics is playing a role, the government ab initio from inception ought to have taken care of the borders, ought to have taken care of national ID card scheme, ought to have made sure that every Nigerian can be tracked by a voter's card, by a national ID card, and we know who is who in the country. And we now make sure that the border, look at what Trump is trying to do, to build a border, to build a wall. Is it impossible to build a wall across the whole of the North? Nigeria is the size of Texas.
What do you want to do with the wall across the whole of the North?
If we find out, the president said Boko Haram is due to infiltration, small arms infiltration from Mali, and also the problem in Maghreb, the Al-Qaeda in Maghreb. Now, if a Donald Trump is saying building a wall a problem, we can talk about having customs and having borders. You don't have to build a wall to have a border. We can have tight border security as a result of counterintelligence, and also with all kinds of electronic devices. So just waking up to say politics is a problem when you have not taken care of these things, border patrol, immigration, and all those things, you cannot just wake up, and customs, you cannot just wake up, ID card, you cannot just wake up and say it's not just politics.
Okay, Dr. Boyo, what do you think, Mr. Adikoke, of his suggestion? Because the inspiration for those ideas, you know, he said, look at part of Trump's efforts. Trump is going to build a wall. Of course, it's not the most popular thing. In fact, there are people who are laughing with derision, say, this is just crazy. You can't keep people out with a wall. And that is in spite of the fact that America, you know how rich they are. They've gone, you know, a large way in constructing that wall. But it's not just the wall. You now have to back it up with all the things that Dr. Boye also mentioned again. You know, manpower, surveillance, sophistication, all sorts of cameras, all sorts of headquarters. We haven't even gotten NEPA to work. You know what I mean? Yes. We don't even have 24/7 power. I mean, so I don't know if we can actually attempt such a... Well, I don't know. Not many people will agree that Trump's idea is very... Trump's idea is very sophisticated.
He just used that as an example.
I know he did. But what I'm saying is that even just looking at it, should we be alive? Should we be even thinking about that kind of a thing? There's so many things that we should say, wait, we will come to it.
The issue is this.
One step before the other.
The issue is this. What he actually meant...
No, I don't bother about what he meant. Just tell me how you see it.
For me, the way I see it is that, well, he has cited the example of Trump building a wall. We don't have to build one. All that is necessary is for our borders to be well policed. We have...
Which we know we can't do effectively.
Why can't we?
Because...
Why can't we? Why can't we?
Because we've constantly been hearing that the border is far too extensive.
In addition to what he has
we don't even have enough policemen.
In addition to that, it is not... You know, have we optimized the angle of international partnership and assistance, even with neighboring countries? Have we optimized that? You know, for us to now say, oh, it's politics.
Well, why are we even talking about this? We're talking about this because I think there's the idea that Boko Haram and these guys are not even Nigerians. They spill into the country. That's why we're talking about this, right? I'm going there.
And even if they don't spill in the country, our level of illiteracy and poverty is enough for anybody to become a tool in the hands of terrorists.
So there are those, there's the internal component, and then there's also the fear that people...
The international angle is there. What have we done about the international partnership, synergy of efforts, you know, with other countries, you know, on this? And like we have said, there is always a ready feed meal for Boko Haram or any other insurgent group because of the prevailing high level of poverty in the land. You know, so we need also even to go to the root of the beginning, the genesis of this Boko Haram.
So if we were to go by our conversation from what you're saying, there are one idea would be that there are politicians who are savvy at being able to use people who are uninformed, uneducated, unemployed, hungry, and also angry. Throw that in. These people manipulate these masses that are available to keep on being a problem. I think that might be one interpretation of politics, politicians and politics being
and that's why I suggested
because then this whole matter of ethnicity and religion will come into it.
In most countries of the world, if you are below the age of 18 or even 16 and you're on the streets between 8 and 2, you'll be arrested. You should be in school. You should be in school. Every child below the age of 16, even below the age of 20, should have been should be in school. You know, now you go to the universal basic, what we call UPA, that became UBE now. It's not being enforced. It should be a crime for any child to be out of primary school, not even leave secondary school aside, and let the primary school be functional, let the education be rich, and by the time you finish primary school, you can write Arabic, you can write English, even if you're a northerner. You can speak. Did you notice those interviews among the Chibok girls when they were captured, when they were brought back? Many of them could not speak English. They couldn't speak English. And they were sitting for their O levels without being able to speak English. The porosity is that we have an education that is non-functional and people are not sure of getting a job. In England and America, you don't need a university education to get a job. You need high school. Now, if we can make sure that any child who does not have a primary education in the first place, we should find out why a child, 10 years old, 12 years old, is on the streets between 8 o'clock in the morning and 1 p.m.
You're talking about the pool from which these ultimate are being recruited.
Yeah.
But they're not. I don't know how many kids there really are.
From kids, you have adults.
I know.
Now, if we make sure that these people that are adults now,
you're talking about the future now.
Yes.
This is what you're saying.
Not just future now. No, not just future
dry
now.
up that pool from which.
Yes.
I'm saying that where we have adults today in their 20s who are armed robbers and who are tools in the hands of these guys, that these people don't have jobs. Some people have OND, HND, first degree, master's, PhD, and have no jobs. Then talk less of the others who cannot even read and write. They can't join the police force. They can't join anything. They didn't go to school. And they're in the town. And the majority of these places, I don't know whether you have ever lived in the north before. I've worked in the north. I've lived in the north. You'll find out that apart from elementary, the average person below the age of 25 has never entered a school before. And that is tragic.
Well, we have. I think we should go on a break and then come back so that I don't have to cut into anybody's sentence. Okay. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and we'll see if the phones are working then, so you can contribute to our conversation as always. Okay, welcome back, Mr. Ademola Adegoke and Dr. Amadele Boyo on set, and we're looking at the president's statement that politics is behind the intractable Boko Haram, problem. Of course, it has led to the question about, but you said much earlier on that just give you time, as soon as you get into office, you would significantly address the problem. Mm-hmm. So that has proved to be more challenging than no doubt they understood. So as we come to understand it more, we've heard continually from government officers, Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information, telling us how the steam has been taken out of Boko Haram, whereas they might not have been decimated totally, but the point is they have been decimated to a large extent, and I think oftentimes Lai Mohammed has said that all these sudden actions that you see, they're really the dying throes, people trying to call attention to themselves. But now the president is acknowledging, it would appear, that the problem has not gone away as effectively as I would have liked, I think can be implied in his statement. And that's because it's not a straightforward military operation anymore. We thought it was, perhaps, is his thinking. But now we see that with politics behind it, we're going to have to adopt strategies in addition to the military option, which means talk. Now, they've had talks. There have been talks. People have concluded that this whole Boko Haram affair, it's not all of it that is really Boko Haram, the religious organization. Muslims have denounced them, that these are no Muslims. There's nothing Islamic about Boko Haram. We've heard all of that. And so people who speak like that have labeled them as pure criminals, just dressing them up by trying to use all of these kind of words. So where exactly are we? Because the attitude is important. What is the attitude that we have in addressing this whole matter? Are we addressing the matter of a bunch of criminals that are causing mayhem all over the place? Or is it a delicate affair because these are misguided people but are still nationals nevertheless, and we can't deal with it the way you deal with an enemy? Did you say Ogbonna? Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Ogbonna.
It's been a long time.
Indeed. We're delighted to have you back.
Yes, Uncle Yole, please, I want us to digress a little.
Hey, only a little.
I was following
what?
your program for a while now, but it's like you people are beginning to take sides in some certain area of this program.
We don't take sides, but point out what you think.
Yeah, what I want to say is that there are some people that they pick their call, they give them more time to elaborate and talk. And there are some people they pick their call, they did not even allow them to talk. It's quite unfortunate. Let me go to the point.
Okay.
You see,
we took your call today.
Hello?
I said we have taken your call today.
Yes.
And we will give you time.
Yes. You see, I want to start from the issue of the book launch. It's like you are getting the studio. They're not. I like you to be straightforward. The man did his book launch and it's his birthday. I don't know why people are looking at it in another dimension. You see, let us not be too politically in anything we are doing. Call a spade a spade. This man says, I'm celebrating my birthday, and he's putting his book launch, and people are saying there's something behind it. What does that look? It looks as if there are another thing you are paying at. And in fact, I began to suspect that the TVC news is just basically against the PGP candidate. I am a member of APC. I voted for this government. I traveled from where I registered to the north. I campaigned for Buhari. But I want to tell you, the way people are doing this politics is like there's a war. It is not do or die affair.
Okay.
This man Jonathan told you clearly that it's not do or die affair. That you are getting the student are trying to play another different kind of scenario. That why must he launch his book at this time? Why must he celebrate his birthday at this time? I would let them celebrate their own at their own appointed time.
Okay, okay, Mr. Bona, is that all you wanted to say? You're not going to comment on anything else? But I think it's gone. But first of all, Mr. Bona, thank you very much for that comment. But then also recall that people, when they come on the program, all the opinions, all their utterances are entirely their personal opinions, not the opinions of the station or indeed of the program. And we will take all kinds of comments, such as we've just taken yours, and we accept it without trying to rebut anything, not criticize. You simply put your impression on the table. So I think we just leave it at that. There's no need. Thank you very much for the call, but I think I want to deny that we take sides. We don't. We will take both sides of an issue, and sometimes when there are more than two sides, we will take those that other side as well. But thank you very much, Mr. Ogbonna, for coming in and pointing that whole thing out. And gentlemen, I don't think there's a need to react to what he said, because having said that, the opinions are yours, and it's lovely. That's why it's a two-way thing. He has said that, I don't know why those gentlemen were saying what they were saying. To me, it was just a straightforward, ordinary birthday. They cut cake, and now they're reading meanings into it. Okay, we've heard.
But did you talk about birthday?
We didn't even talk about birthday at all. We talked about book launch.
Memoir.
But Mr. Bona is saying that, why are you saying that the time is fortuitous or is not fortuitous? But let me just use that opportunity to say again in the middle of the program that all opinions expressed remain those of the guys who put them out, not the program or the station.
We're talking about attitude.
Yes.
How do we
have the right are these criminals? Are these criminals, and so we could deal with it once and for all, or is it more complicated than that?
I think, for me, I am even, hard put, agreeing that these are insurgents. Because if insurgency, we presuppose that you have a group of people fighting for a cause, a well-known cause on behalf of a group of people. Mm-hmm. Now, the question is, who are these people fighting for? What is their cause? And so, in the absence of any definite cause that you can attach to their agitation, then you may not have any other option than to brand them what they are, terrorists. Mm-hmm. For me, you understand? If they, insurgents, insurgents, they usually have a cause, and when you negotiate with them, they give you their terms. But what are the terms of these people? So I don't know if the Nigerian state has come to terms with the reality of these guys, being so hard to negotiate with, and not having any definable cause that we can say, okay, let's.
But Dr. Boyo, we've tried to engage Boko Haram in the past. It hasn't always gone very well, but this goes even back to Obasanjo's time.
Yes. In fact, that's when it started.
That's when it started.
The killing
and it was a very, remember that as a result of such interaction and some people cooperating with the efforts of the former president to address the whole issue, I think there were some murders as a result of that.
In fact, if I may come in here, at that time, to Jonathan's time, we thought Boko Haram was an agitation against a Christian leadership. And many people felt if a Muslim became a president, that maybe there would be some quiet. But the truth of the matter now is that the president said it's political. And I've said this over and over again. My Tassine, all kinds of groups have evolved in this country. Let us have a judicial commission of inquiry. Let us have people come out and let's come out straight and say, what exactly this thing? The history books will depend on hearsay until we find out, pick up some people. And there was a time that Senator Ndume was just said to be one of those people involved. We didn't get to the bottom of the matter. People have been arrested and released. Now, Mayeti Allah is said to be behind the headsmen. The headsmen, if we start the election campaign, you'll get a response very soon to what this statement of the president. The opposition party will say that the president is a patron of Mayeti Allah. That's what we say. So Boko Haram has even been quiet in the last few years compared to headsmen from the north central to the borders of the southwest, to different parts of the country. The headsmen have been more critical. If we put Zaki's people aside, have committed more murders now than Boko Haram. Carrying children from Dapchi away is the major thing we had of Boko Haram this year. But the truth is that there have been more killings by headsmen, militant headsmen, than even Boko Haram. So if it's political, the president too should also begin to look at who are those behind this thing, bring them to book.
Okay.
Pick one person, get the person jailed, and then we know where we are going.
Bisi in the UK, good morning. Good morning, Bisi in the UK. Bisi, can you hear us? Bisi is on the line from London, but I don't know if you can hear us anymore. Bisi? No luck.
Yeah.
No luck.
So I will have lost it where we are able to, through intelligence, through the police, SSS, DSS, everything, military intelligence, we're able to pick up these people that it says are, whether the politicians or anybody of whatever nature behind Boko Haram or behind the headsmen, and these people are brought to justice.
Because it's going to become a campaign issue.
Yes.
No doubt. Anybody, any politician, any political aspirant worth his salt is going to have to begin to peck away at this particular
And what the president should be careful about is that he is a headsman.
Now,
if the political thing starts,
the man is a president, not a herdsman. You can't say because a president has a ranch, he therefore is a rancher.
No. But then people have said over and over again that there have been no way in which the northern people, the northern hegemony, have been able to say, we know the people, let's leave Boko Haram and take headsmen, and say we know people behind headsmen. And we have been able. Do you know that Mayeti Allah has never denounced the headsman killing?
If you recall, when TVC News and Nation held this summit and called together all parties to numerous issues, Mayeti Allah as an organization was represented, and a lot of things they said, quite frankly, that people have sort of stigmatized them and are not really seeing things from their point of view. In fact, people have got tunnel vision about this whole thing.
They say they are not in support of the headsmen.
Well, they say the headsmen, especially Mayeti Allah, is getting a bad rap. And it's big when they are injured, when they are, nobody reports that.
Yes.
Remember that was said. Yes. That was said a lot. Sorry. This Well, we're trying to get back to the UK now. Is it Paul or BC? It's Paul. Morning, Paul. Morning, Paul. Can you hear us?
Hello, good morning from London.
Morning, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I want to contribute just to contribute about Boko Haram.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's not taking it away from religion. It's not a group of gangsters. It's a religious problem. It's a religious problem. It came out from a religious group.
Wait a minute, Paul. You remember recently the president said that it's politics behind the intractable situation with Boko Haram.
Looks like we've lost him.
No, I think he's still...
It's just an addition. The major issue is religion. They have a lot of programs. One of them is to eliminate Christianity in the north and carry out their program. And they have sponsors. And it is very, very annoying.
But Paul... most Muslims have said that there is nothing Islamic about Boko Haram. Paul, can you hear me, Paul? Can you hear me? Paul?
It's not good to hear that.
Paul, can you hear me?
Nigeria is that
Paul.
Boko Haram will go into the camp and pursue them away.
Paul, can you? Did you?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, thank you. What I was saying was that most Muslims in Nigeria and outside Nigeria are saying that there is nothing Islamic about Boko Haram. There is nothing religious about Boko Haram. The Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, it says it doesn't know of any of such Muslims.
That is their own defense. That is their own defense. That is their own defense. That is the possible defense they can give. They know that it is there. I'm still stressing that the military is too poor, too porous, too weak in this regime. That a gangster like that, or call it a group of thugs, can go there and pursue the military and kill people, go to the barracks and kill people, kill the soldiers, and take some away. Take them. Is this Nigeria that we are? Is this still Nigeria military that we criticized before? In 2015, they criticized the government then that it was too weak. Even the military was weak and all this thing. And that made the present government to be jumping up every month saying that they have destroyed Boko Haram. They have not destroyed anything. Even the Boko Haram is now entering the barracks to destroy, to cut away military men and ammunition.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you. Really appreciate your comment. Boko Haram entering military barracks, cutting away soldiers and ammunition. Well, Paul, let's just leave that. Let's just leave that whole matter because, as I said, we take all shades of opinion. But what we're looking at here is the statement of the president that people should not discount politics when it comes to the problem of Boko Haram. I think he just needed to add that. And even Paul from the UK, apart from the other fantastic idea, you know, had alluded that, that politics is a part of it, but that he thinks it is mainly religious.
No, but nobody has doubted the place of religion. They claim to be religious. Nobody is saying that.
But then we need to understand this. Yes, they claim to be fighting a religious cause. Yes. But then, what manner of religious cause are they fighting? Is it Islamic? Because if it's Islamic, they have deposed emirs, they have sent emirs out of their, they have, so they, I do not know if most Muslims in the north will even agree that these people are Muslims. These are people who they bomb mosques, during prayer.
Or that their behavior is in any way, shape, or form Islamic.
And that is why I have said, the Nigerian state, for me, because, there was a time U.S. branded this, listed Boko Haram as a terrorist organization. And the Nigerian state still, see them as mere insurgents. So for the attitude, what is the attitude?
Boko Haram has agreed that it's affiliated to
ISIL. Yeah. So Boko Haram has agreed that it's affiliated to ISIL. And so we need to look at it from that perspective too. The broader international, Islamic radicalization process of ISIL.
No doubt, more than a few people are going to come along in the campaign season that we just entered and say, I have the answer to Boko Haram. Okay. We heard it once.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at the statement and understanding why, we're trying to understand why it didn't go exactly the way it was said. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if more aspirants didn't throw their own hat in the ring. As far as taking out Boko Haram.
And that's why.
Going to be.
And that's why.
But let me take Mr. George from Ikeja. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yuri.
Good morning, sir. Okay, that's a different Mr. George. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for calling in.
I just want us to be clear on one particular thing.
Sure.
We all know how Boko Haram started. Yusuf was a religious leader.
Yeah.
He started Boko Haram, and as I'm talking to you now, it is his son that has taken over from his father, and his son is a Muslim. You cannot just tell me that Boko Haram are not Muslim because some Muslims who claim that Boko Haram are not fighting religious fight. IPOD is from the east. IPOD, we know that they are beloved terrorists, and we all know that IPOD is Christian. There's no how they can claim that IPOD, people of Biafra, are not Christians. So since people of Biafra are Christians, Boko Haram are Muslims. So there's nothing. Boko Haram came from religious background Muslim. They are not Christians. They are not Hindus. They are pure Muslims. Not like IPOD are Christians.
All right, but thank you very much. But the difference, you take a step. Mr. George, thank you very much for that.
IPOB may be Christian, may contain Christians, but they are not fighting a Christian
cause.
They are fighting not fighting a Christian cause. They are fighting a cause for Biafra, and they want a separate country.
That's
independent people. A secessionist cause. Now, Boko Haram. They may be predominantly Muslims in Boko Haram. They may have had an original intention of Islamization.
Yes,
but
they want that.
Intention,
no,
yes,
it's still there.
It's still there. That's it. Because the word Boko Haram is Western education is a cost. It's not acceptable, whatever. So at the end of the day, the fact that there are Muslims there is not in dispute. You understand me? The fact that they are Muslims is not in dispute.
Does that make it
now, what the question is, how can we take care of Boko Haram? Do we continue to fight them with the military, or we win the minds of people? You can win a war and not win the peace.
And not win the peace.
Now, the mind, we need to educate people in that area. We need to make them to know that we need to make our young people to be patriotic. If people are patriotic, they can resist on behalf of the government. We have vigilantes down south. We can resist. But if the people
on
themselves...
the campaign trail, I imagine we already know what Mr. President is going to say when it comes to the whole matter of Boko Haram, unless they're still working on it. Yeah. And now that we know this, no doubt all the other guys are also preparing what they are going to say about this. Because that's the way...
I can predict what they will say.
This is the way... Well, among the things they're going to say, for sure, nobody's going to say that that's an intractable problem, so we might not have much success there. I don't think anybody's going to say that.
No.
People are going to come up with the fact that we have the answer. Just like we've heard that other intractable issues, some people have stepped forward and said that, I'll take it on. Yeah. And that which has been said to be impossible, wait for me to come into office, I will make it possible. Yeah. But we've run out of time entirely, and it's 11:26 and going on. So I want to thank you, Mr. Demola Adegoke and Dr. Madeli Boyo. for giving your perspectives on this whole matter. Whether or not Boko Haram is a religious organization, an Islamic organization or not. Interesting point that George made from Ikeja, that if IPOB is, has Christians, then it's Christian. And if this one too has Muslims, it must be. I think he meant that in a lighter mood, but there you go. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks so much.
And, so please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program. I am Iyori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.